It's the Redirect Podcast. Search industry research, discussion, and analysis from the Black Truck Media and Marketing Headquarters. And now, redirecting you to the Black Truck team.
Welcome to episode 42 of the Redirect Podcast. It is Friday, April 13th, 2018. I'm Jason Dodge, founder of Black Truck Media and Marketing, joined this week by Patrick and Ashley from the Black Truck team. Happy Friday, 13th.
Yeah.
Hey.
Any superstitions?
Not at all.
Black cats aren't bad luck.
You own a black cat.
It's got white. It's got
She's
white
got
on it.
white, but you know, black cats get a bad rap. They're
If you don't believe in ghosts, then you shouldn't believe in superstitions.
I am afraid of no ghosts. All right. Well, now that we've gotten all of those things out, let's jump in. So, quite a bit moving. This is like I think the past 3 or 4 podcasts that we've recorded. There's been something that is what I wouldn't call it a major shakeup. There's certainly a lot of volatility with Google testing things on the search side, Facebook changes, obviously, with everything that came out of their recent debacle. Big things within the Google space. We've known about it probably for maybe a week to 2 weeks prior, as most of Google partner agencies got early notification about GDPR, and everybody this week received notification on the public side for updates of GDPR and what GDPR is, which is the General Data Protection Regulation. So this was what was voted into existence by the European Union in April of 2016, does not get enforced until May of this year. That threatens to levy heavy fines on those who are not in compliance. So what this comes down to is a lot of, it has to do with a lot of privacy. And
what's that?
Right? It's a hard one because the official news that came out, and we can link to an article. Actually, there's some links of it now that have been finally put out there, that Google emailed all Google Analytics customers. AdWords customers have received it. Like I said, agency partners have received it for a while. But it's all about Google's approach with GDPR is very much data retention. And what they've done is analytics has said, you need to set your own data retention policies. Barry Schwartz over at Search Engine Roundtable actually did a really great job of breaking this down, and even included some screenshots of how to go through and do some admin controls for collecting data and things like that. But if you read through the whole email and stuff that they sent out, that Google sent out, it's a little bit of a mess. It's very hard to understand. We've had people reach out to us, ask us like, hey, what does this mean? What should I do? And obviously, there's also people that are saying, well, I'm just a business here in West Michigan, or I'm a business in Michigan, or I'm a business in this town or city. We don't do business internationally. Well, the reminder here is that this is the World Wide Web. This isn't the local internet. So this is a global thing, and that chances are that while you think that you don't have a lot of interactions with people in the EU, you probably have done one or more of the things that could kind of run under this, what GDPR is. So if you have online traffic with an EU resident, collected consumer identifying data at any capacity of an EU resident, conducted any type of business with an EU data subject, targeted with online ads, intentionally or not. I was even thinking today, if you were a manufacturer and you can say, well, we don't deal with anybody. Well, what if the person, the company that you're making those parts for is headquartered in EU? or there's an engineer in the EU that finds you because your manufacturing facility happens to be in this case, let's say Grand Rapids, Michigan, or Los Angeles, California, and they reach out and contact you, and is there any policy in place that says that you interacted with them? How are you controlling data? So we're clearly, none of us here at Black Truck are lawyers, and we've already started to consult legal counsel on this, but there's certainly areas that people can start to improve your standings with GDPR. And I think the biggest thing that we'll focus on, and I'll try and be somewhat brief with it and concise, is regain data retention controls. And that's where Barry talks about it in Google Analytics, is that under your admin settings, there is now, so admin settings in Google Analytics, the drop down menu where it says JS tracking info, that's typically where you go for your data collection, looking for your tracking code, user IDs, session settings, things like that. There's a new one in there now called data retention, and you can change how far out the data will be retained. I think it defaults 26 months is the default. So just over 2 years. You can go all the way up to 50 months, or do not automatically expire. I have not read any deeper into that to know what that means. Does that mean that your Google Analytics data is going to be gone and you're not going to be able to see it? No, I think what that means is that the data that Google holds on their servers for you, for your site, will go away after that. I don't think it means that you can't look at your analytics data.
You have to put in a request to get the older stuff.
No, I just think it's more things like session IDs and things like that, right? If you're looking at things at that degree, which we've never run into a situation where we've been running session IDs and things like that. But there's a couple of really great GDPR guides. And there's a lot of discussion and people trying to kind of catch up and understand what it is. So we'll certainly try and provide those as resources and understand it. We've developed some of our own content and language on it as well, and are consulting again with more legal counsels on it. But so big things: regain data retention controls, review your Google Analytics settings there, create a proper process. What's your process and protocol to handle things like GDPR compliance standards? Because if you don't have a process in place and something happens, something kind of sneaks up on you, you could get caught on that. The approach here of, do you have a privacy policy in place? Like, even us, we're very guilty of it. Like, going through this as we developed this piece, I went, probably shouldn't be a hypocrite on this, and that was the big call to us on from a legal counsel perspective. Is I know from an internet marketing perspective, here's some of the things we need to say, but I'm running it past legal channels to make sure that is appropriate. But it's just do you use cookies on your site? Tell people that. If you have, especially most everybody has a form. You have to inform people. Tell them the type of data that they're collecting, whether or not they click on your privacy policy or not, and check that out. Put that information out there. Be proactive. So start to have these conversations now. This goes into effect end of May. So I don't think we need to view GDPR as a huge negative to conducting commerce online. I think we all need to be smart, and really it's just more of an encouragement to be open about the data that we're collecting. Provide individuals that level of detail, whether or not they choose to click on your privacy policy, our privacy policy, put it out there, take the steps needed to conduct business in an honest fashion online. So even in discussion with our Google team earlier this week, and I pressed them on the issue, the answer was very much, we can't talk to you about that. So and now that's the AdWords side, but even Google's saying there's not much we can share with you outside of the official letter that went out. So what's your take on that? I mean, I killed 10 minutes on talking about this, but how does that, the whole privacy issue, what's you guys' take on that lately?
I haven't believed in privacy in about 5 years now.
That's a great approach.
Yeah. Jason, we tease about in the office, and you catch some flack for how easily you brush it off. But like, yeah, we all signed that or clicked accept. When was the last time you read more than 4 words of those disclosures?
Yeah.
You know, it's sometimes they
Terms of service, that sort of thing.
Companies will hide a lot of Easter eggs in those. Sometimes it's comical to read or hear about it after the fact, but you know, we indirectly knew what we were getting into when we signed up for all these services. And you know, in 2007, when we activated our Facebook account, did we know that 11 years later it would be what it is today? And it's like the second half of the internet, you know?
Right.
We signed that a long time ago, and we've tweaked some bells and whistles there, and knobs get twisted a little bit differently over the time, but like, I don't have a lot to hide, so it's, you know, I mean, it's, if they want my data, they've already got it. They've had my data for more than 10 years.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there. If people are naive to think that somebody hasn't had a hold of their data, even pre-internet age, let's just put it that way, that's a pretty silly thought. Now, on the discussion and the topic of, you know, making people more publicly aware of the type of data that you're collecting, and making it a little bit easier for people to read that, my approach very much is put it in your privacy policy, and this is going to be my big push maybe for our privacy policy too, is that make it so people can friggin' understand it. Don't give me the legal jargon. Tell me what it means.
Yeah.
I think that people would read those agreements more if you made it simple, broke it down, categorized it as to what it meant for you personally, what it means for you in your life.
I agree with that 100%. However, there's a reason that legal mumbo jumbo is in there, because in order for it to hold water in the court of law, it has to be written out like that.
No, I understand that.
So making it simple still has to coincide with the long form.
Well,
Layman's interpretation.
Yes.
Do a little line after each section. Yeah, I think if anything, everything that's happening with the Cambridge Analytica scandal is gonna hopefully open people's eyes up just to like, you should probably know, you know, what information you're sharing and who has access to it. I think people are gonna be more conscientious of that.
Yeah, there's so much education. I mean, look at Orrin Hatch asking Zuckerberg, how do you run all this when people have it for free? And he's like, yeah, we have things called ads. You know, that's just one example of how disconnected a lot of community members are, and how they don't understand what's really happening out there. Yeah, they can read it in the news, and they can see all these fancy headlines and get all the enragement that they need, but at the end of the day, they still have no idea. You can be a senator and still have no idea how the world works.
Yep. Good times. Good times.
Well, that reminds me that, you know, if there are people, there's resources if you, I don't know if our listeners, you know, have family and friends who might not understand. I know our local library actually has great resources to connect people in the community to information about accessing the internet and what that means and privacy. Like the Grand Rapids Library has a class that they offer regularly on that, which I think is great. Actually, it'd be kind of interesting to sit in on that and see.
I mean, if it's a creepy van with hand-painted letters on the side that says free candy, you might not want to take the ride. You know what I mean?
But our seniors click on that van.
I know. I know. That's and I worry about my kids and everything like that. But you know, I think be honest, put the information out there, and you know, help people understand. So I think anybody's yet to really understand it. I tapped local legal community to ask. Two reasons. One, I wanted to make sure that we had some steps in place to be compliant, you know, full disclosure there. The other one was I wanted to actually gauge whether or not the legal community had their head buried in the sand on this subject, or if they're actually doing their diligence and digging in and doing the research and really understanding what it can mean and what needs to happen. So verdicts yet, you know, kind of out there. I don't know yet, but as I learn more, I will certainly follow up and share it with
a lot of moving parts out there still, and
a lot.
Parts haven't stopped moving.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's move on from what was me.
Can I jump into something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Totally different.
I hope it's more positive than
it's not
data
as,
protection.
Yeah, it's not as heavy as what This topic isn't subject to a $20 million euro fine. So I launched a new.
That's 24.
Yeah, 24 million US
million
dollars.
US dollars.
20
million
euro per instance. Yes. I launched a PPC campaign this week for a company that manufactures a custom product, and I elected to bid on a keyword that is a competitor. It's pretty standard practice. And in the 5 days that it's been running now, that competitor's keyword has been the most active keyword that I'm getting impressions and clicks on.
So your basic data, your baseline data, impression click data, shows you like competitive insights are.
Boom, boom. So that competitor is a big nationwide brand compared to our local brand, and their brand name is almost synonymous with the product, kind of like Bandage and Band-Aid,
Kleenex, Coke, Cola,
those kind of deals. So it's hard to avoid. And I did a little research in gaming on this, and it's when I'm competing on it. There's a fine line. You can bid on the competitor's brand name, but there's in my eyes, an ethical line of how you write the copy in the ad. I'm not going to call out the competitor in the ad.
And I think that goes against, for the most part, general terms and services too. You really shouldn't,
Right. So I stumbled across something about what to do when you find a competitor competing on your brand name.
Oh, nice.
So in this case, let's say this other brand noticed that I'm bidding on their brand. So it's kind of reverse, but you can use it in both directions. You can look at it at both sides. As me, the ad manager, versus the other brand finding this.
To clarify, is this a case of what to do if they're using your brand name in their ad copy? Is that
just if you're bidding? Just straight up bidding. Straight up bidding. There's obviously, I can't tell what their bids are. But the first tip, obviously, is beat them at their own game. Really make sure you're bidding on your brand. And I got thinking about that, and I don't know if I've ever included, in any of the PPC campaigns I've ever managed, I've never included their own brand name, even with the larger brand names. I don't think I've ever done it, and I probably should. If they have, if they're a dealership that deals with sub brands, I've done that, But in the instance of this, this kind of product, something like this, I've not actually used that brand name.
And I think maybe the reasons why too to keep in mind here is that the hope or the plan typically is for a lot of people is that I rank really well organically.
Right. For my brand name.
For my brand name.
Why would I need to pay for my brand name?
Yeah. Now, I think that, and even internal discussions at Google, even when I was over there the other week, I brought that up and said, that can be a hard sell, right? That can be a hard sell as an agency to be able to say, no, we're going to bid on your name. Because they're going to say, yeah, that's an easy one, right?
Right.
Well, but picture it this way. If you go and do a search for your brand name and you don't own everything, that totally gives, to your point, the opportunity to the competitor to get in there.
Yep.
What it provides you the benefit of is the ability to direct that user exactly where you want them to go. Hopefully, obviously, your main keystone, cornerstone pages are the ones that are ranking really well for your brand. But what if you have some extreme competition in there because your name's pretty generic?
Yeah.
Should I bid on my name and send people exactly where I want them to go?
Right. So it's a fine line, and you really have to. It almost starts with doing the backwards research and seeing before you immediately start bidding on your own name. Search your name and see if any other competitor ads come up.
Totally. How do you? What's your take on? I don't think we're giving away any secret sauce here, but I think there's a lot of people that do this already, or at least savvy PPC marketers will. We've talked before about how one of the best keyword tools out there is to run PPC campaigns for a good period of time and mine that data, mine your search report data. if you can get away with it, depending on your industry, and you're going to bid on, if you're bidding on your competitor terms anyways, boy, I hope you keep that separated out enough so that you can mine that competitive search data to see what are people searching on, why are they searching about your competitor. If you're gonna run competitive searches, you better use that data. You better be using that data, because if you're paying for that traffic that may or may not convert, and I can tell you it's more likely not, like that's a conquest. I'm getting you to switch brands or switch from a known brand in this case.
In this case, it's a known brand. However, what are the other brands?
Unknown, yeah.
No one knows the other brand, because it's like, quick, what's another brand of Band-Aid?
Correct, yeah. Yeah. So the interesting thing is then to do a search term report and see what people are searching for about that brand.
Right.
On the traffic you're paying for.
Another suggestion is, if it's legit, you file a trademark complaint. If your brand name is, your product is trademarked, you have every right to go the legal route.
Also, to add to that, if in this case that company that I'm thinking of, if they sold somebody else's product, like they were a dealer for a branded product, a trademark branded product, and we wanted to use that trademark name in an ad, Google's going to flag that. Almost automatically, the machine's going to flag that. There is a process to get that approved. Typically, most of your major brands there is some point of contact by way of Google that's like that brand manager, that brand champion, and there's a chain of command to go through, but you prove that you are an authorized dealer, reseller, something like that. The proper certificates and things line up. You can actually be authorized to use that brand name in your ads, and it won't get throttled and or shut down or disapproved. So on the flip of that, as the major brand, you can totally shut that down. But as a dealer or independent rep or something like that who's authorized, you can actually go the other way and use it.
Right. Yeah. Same thing with certain controlled items. We've run into that before. There's procedures in place for that.
Yep.
Just for clarification, if you're let's say that national brand and you notice a smaller local business bidding on your name, you can take legal action.
If you have a protected, you're involving a bunch of different avenues that way. There's other ways to go about it first, but it's, if you have a copyrighted name or a trademarked name and they're being malicious about it, then yes.
The gray area really is, the only black and white answer is, did they use your name in the ad? So if they're using a tactic like keyword insertion in the ad copy, where it's like such and such in West Michigan, and the only ad text that we write is in West Michigan, keyword insertion is a couple brackets that said, whatever you searched for, and it throws in West Michigan on the end of it. Well, if you happen to have that brand name in your search query as the user and it pulls it in there, big brand could come down on you and say, but you as the PPC manager have no clue that that's even happening, because you're like, oh, this is supposed to be a phenomenal tactic to use, but you forget that that's a major brand and that could be a no-no. That could get that ad flag. So really the only black and white answer is, did they blatantly use your brand name in the ad copy?
Gotcha.
Right. Third option, which almost should come before the trademark issue I see, is reach out to competitors. The worst they can say is no. So reach out to them and be very polite and say something along the lines of, hey, I noticed this is what you're doing here. This is our protected brand, and it'd be really great if you guys could just go ahead and not bid on our brand name. Something along those lines. And the worst that's going to happen is they say no. The best that's going to happen is they actually say, that was kind of cool of them, and they didn't throw us under the bus.
Right.
So we'll go ahead and remove that.
Yep. I know we've got a couple clients that have gone through that process and have done that, and they've gone about it the way that you just described.
Yeah. Last option I read about in here was which is Google's favorite option because they make the most money off of it. But basically create a bidding war. Go after their terms. The company that's bidding on your terms, start bidding on their terms. And it's really ugly when it gets that
Terrible.
way, and that is the last route you want to go. And at the end of the day, Google's just going to shrug at it, because if you're increasing your cost per clicks, that's more money in Google's pockets, and more money you're out. So that's not the route you want to go. Don't get into a bidding war with a competitor over your keywords, because next thing you know, you'll see words like lawyer get $100 a click.
Well, yeah, and I mean, really, if you start to see that, maybe you have some bigger problems. Maybe you have some bigger problems in your industry you need to get figured out, versus getting into a pissing match and spending a bunch of money.
Yeah.
That's really great, Pat. Good info. I'm looking at you, Ashley.
All right. Google tests. And I guess this isn't actually a test. It was something that was tested a while ago, and it appears that it may actually be rolling out for real now. This is featured snippet refinement bubbles.
What?
Yeah. So not realizing it, I had seen this in some searches that I've done recently, and I didn't really even blink at it for some reason. I guess I'm just getting used to the different interfaces that Google's been testing with. But this would be if you did a search, like a generic search that brings up a featured snippet. It will suggest in little text bubbles at the bottom of the snippet some ways to refine that search query. And so I was made aware of this through Search Engine Roundtable, an article shared this week from them. But like I said, I'd seen it, and so because it's gray outside and we've been having winter weather yet again, I decided to test this with a search for spring flowers. And so it brings up a beautiful little snippet with some pictures of spring flowers from ThompsonMorgan.com and a bulleted list. And then at the bottom, it gives the options of like early spring flowers, purple, yellow, pink, white, perennial, fragrant. So you can click on one of those bubbles, and then it will bring you to a new snippet on the same page. So I clicked on purple because that's my favorite color, and it brought me a new snippet for purple spring flowers from BHG.com. And then there's still some more refinement options there. So I clicked on perennial, and that brought me to perennial spring flowers from naturehills.com. So I just thought it was really interesting that you can navigate between different domains within Google's page.
So they started testing that. If you go to Google Images, that's where that originated. So go to Google Images, do the same search, and you'll see a similar yet different interface. It's a similar.
When you open that black
play.
band, it's on the lower right there.
Yes. So if I'm showing you guys my screen right now, I do the same search, spring flowers. I get similar types of refinements.
What I was talking about is if you click into this and you get this. These are technically different types of searches.
Yeah, sure. Related images, aka related searches.
Right.
Yeah. So they're starting to pull that in. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And confusing.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I guess just an interesting way to help people refine their queries and hopefully find something closer to what they're looking for. I just thought that is something to think about with how Google might be refining the whole featured snippet system, where eventually, based on how people interact with this, they're going to refine so that they can better answer queries.
Boy, next
on the
thing you know,
first
we're
shot.
never going to leave page one ever for anything.
Well, and I also saw some things about how they're testing infinite SERPs again. So tapping more results, so it all loads on the same page, and what that might mean for ads.
Well, does that mean we no longer, I mean, are you going to, I think ads, are ads going to refresh? Is there no more page 2, so no more pagination of search results? Boy, that's a tough one.
Do you bid on reoccurring page ads? So, you pay for position 1 and you pay for position 36.
Well, no different than, to add to that, no different than, when you're looking at your data in AdWords and you're trying to figure out, okay, where, there's the Google suggested pay this to be on the first page.
Right.
Versus top position.
Right.
Because just because you're on the first page does not mean that you're up top.
Right.
And especially in a mobile environment, if you're a heavy mobile user audience, you need to dominate those top spots. That's not going to do you a damn bit of good, right? So, and I do believe that interface, have you played with that interface yet in a mobile environment?
I tested it in mobile and desktop.
Is it pretty smooth in mobile?
Yeah, I believe so. Actually, I didn't personally test it, backtracking a little bit, but the article showed the mobile.
Yeah.
And I tried the desktop because I just kind of assumed it would probably be there on my mobile. Yeah.
Oh, all good. Man, a lot moving around then.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, I think we covered a lot. I'm still probably going to, I don't want to hold this topic any longer. I really want to share this information, but I should probably hold it until next week.
As long as it's still relevant.
Oh, this one's always going to be relevant. I think this is one that is a big one that we've had a lot of discussions about. I think even in the past year, it's been mentioned by a lot of other professionals, and I think it's a really, really big thing that people should be focused on. For the future of their websites. So I'll hold off on that until the next redirect. I think we covered enough to boggle people's minds. So. All right. So everything from GDPR and how are we presenting information online to can you bid on competitors? Should you bid on competitors? What if you are being bid on by your competitors? Do you report them? How do you go about that? Some tips and tricks in there, hacks on maybe getting some additional insights out of your keywords, and more changes from Google with interfaces and keeping, again, that trend of keeping people in Google.
Yep.
So, all right, well, until next time, good luck.
This has been the Redirect Podcast. Check out the show notes at blacktruckmedia.com and add us on iTunes and Stitcher.